A new system is rising, one that promises convenience, speed, and digital freedom. But behind its glowing screens and cashless promises, it carries the power to track every transaction, every movement, every word. Central bank digital currencies are spreading across the world. Artificial intelligence is learning faster than we can comprehend. Together, they are laying the silent foundation for a global control grid. Revelation chapter 13, verse 16, warns of a time when no one will buy or sell without the mark. What we're witnessing isn't random progress. It's prophecy in motion. I'm your host, and this is the Last Transmission podcast. Stay with me as we uncover the quiet construction of a system that could soon decide who can live and who must bow.
Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Glad to be here.
We're the show where we try and cut through some of the noise, get straight to the insights. I'm your host.
And I'm here to help navigate. We've got some, pretty intricate topics lined up today.
We really do.
Mm-hmm.
Today, we're pulling back the curtain a bit on something truly fascinating, but also, frankly, a little unsettling.
Unsettling is definitely a word for it.
It's this convergence, right? The quiet rise of central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, and alongside them, these advanced AI systems. It feels like they're weaving together this global infrastructure of control.
Yeah.
Are we maybe on the cusp of an era where, every transaction, every interaction, practically every move you make could be monitored, creating what some people are starting to call a new digital feudalism?
It's a really intriguing point, isn't it, how these two things, they seem separate, right? Finance and technology.
Right.
But they're starting to intersect, and that intersection raises some really profound questions about privacy, sure, but also individual autonomy, even the whole nature of governance in the modern world. We are genuinely looking at a potential shift that could fundamentally reshape, our relationship with our money and our digital lives.
Okay. So let's dig into that.
Let's steer it.
For most people listening, money is still, physical cash, notes and coins in your wallet.
Or just numbers on a screen.
Or numbers in a bank account, exactly. But there's this new form emerging globally. Central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. So what exactly are these? And why are central banks all over the world suddenly so interested?
Okay, so if we zoom out a bit, look at the bigger picture. CBDCs basically represent a centralized money system.
Centralized by the state.
By the state, yes. Where the government could become a direct intermediary in, potentially all your everyday financial transactions.
Okay.
Now, think about physical cash.
Yeah.
It's anonymous, right?
Right.
Pretty much anyone can access it. And crucially, it works offline. No device needed, no internet. A CBDC system, though, just by its very design, has this huge potential to store incredibly sensitive personal data.
It sounds like, it's a monumental shift, isn't it, from how things work now? What kind of sensitive data are we actually talking about here?
And that's the crucial question, isn't it? What happens to our privacy?
Yeah.
I mean, a centralized CBDC potentially could reveal so much. Your movements, maybe your health status based on purchases, who you interact with financially.
Your relationships,
your financial behavior, spending habits, maybe even inferring political views, or, other sensitive details like fertility.
Yeah.
It's an unprecedented level of potential financial surveillance. And that just opens the door wide to potential misuse, right? Whether it's by the state itself or maybe even non-state actors who get access.
It's clear that physical cash still offers these unique advantages. Anonymity, like you said, no transaction fees usually.
And it helps with budgeting, too, for many people.
Absolutely. But we have seen cash use just plummet in the recent years.
Yeah.
You look at the UK, for example. Cash transactions went from something like 60% back in 2008.
Yeah, a majority.
Down to just 12% in 2023. Although, interestingly, it did tick up a tiny bit recently. Probably the cost of living crisis pushing people back to cash for budgeting.
Exactly. But the trend is clear. As cash use declines, a digital currency could easily become the main way. Maybe even the only way. The state backs money.
Right.
And this makes you ask, what about the people who rely on cash? In the UK, that's still over 1 million adults without bank accounts, about 2% of the population. So if cash gets replaced entirely by a system that's inherently less private and needs digital access, that could create real hardship. For low-income people, Maybe people escaping domestic abuse who need financial independence, the financially excluded, even just people in areas with poor internet.
Yeah, that makes sense. So there's this genuine worry that a CBDC could just become this, quote, advertising goldmine if all that personal spending data gets collected. And it could seriously erode just our basic expectation of privacy. I saw the American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU, they put it quite bluntly. They said, we need digital cash that is actually like cash.
That says it all, really. People want those cash-like privacy protections.
They do.
Now, proponents will talk about the tech advantages, right? Like smart contracts.
Which are?
Basically self-executing agreements, coded right into the currency itself, or user programmability setting conditions on how the money can be spent.
Okay, that sounds powerful. And maybe potentially controlling.
Powerful, yes.
Yeah.
And potentially controlling. They could also act as a bridge between different private digital monies. But, and this is key, they are fundamentally different from cryptocurrencies.
How so?
Because they rely on trust in a central authority, the central bank, not a decentralized ledger like Bitcoin.
Got it.
And that very centralization introduces unique risks. I mean, some financial analysis suggests moving to CBDCs could even increase the risk of bank runs. Well, imagine if everyone could instantly pull their money from commercial banks and put it directly into a super safe central bank digital account. It could destabilize things, maybe like what happened in France in the 1930s with government deposit guarantees causing runs. So the challenge is huge. The very features that might make CBDCs attractive, the programmability, the direct link, could also enable this unprecedented centralized gathering of personal data.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly then. Away from money specifically to the other side of this convergence, advanced AI systems.
Right.
We're seeing incredibly rapid development and deployment here. And these aren't just, clever tools anymore. The definition is something like machine-based systems that infer from input how to generate outputs.
Like predictions, content, recommendations.
Exactly, or decisions that can influence the physical or virtual world around us. And what's really striking is how enthusiastically global powers are embracing AI.
Oh, absolutely. Look at the international level. Bodies like the G20, they're all committing to unlock the full potential of AI, share the benefits, mitigate the risks. Global cooperation is the buzzword. And then you look at individual countries, China, France, Germany, India, Russia, Saudi Arabia, UK, US, the EU. They're all deep in developing policies, governance frameworks for AI.
Trying to balance innovation with the risks.
Exactly. Trying to foster innovation while grappling with these critical issues. Privacy, security, safety, algorithmic bias. It's a massive balancing act.
So on one hand, you have this official push for, beneficial AI progress.
Right.
But then you also see these clear, really troubling reports of AI being used as a weapon of repression, as some have called it. Can you maybe highlight some of those more concerning applications for us?
Yeah, and this really forces us to confront that dual-use nature of technology, doesn't it?
It does.
We're definitely seeing what experts call digital authoritarianism popping up, using various AI-enabled methods. Let me give you a few examples. First, think about automated content filtering and sentiment analysis. AI can just silently block or remove online content. It stifles diverse voices.
And people start self-censoring.
Precisely. Users get afraid of the repercussions. Plus, these systems make mistakes, right? False positives can block legitimate speech. Then you add sentiment analysis, AI tools identifying dissent or negative public opinion really fast.
So governments can react quicker?
Much quicker. Implement repressive measures, maybe target surveillance on specific groups. It's very efficient.
Okay.
Then there's deep packet inspection, DPI. This lets AI systems monitor and analyze just vast amounts of digital communication, email, social media, web traffic.
At speeds humans couldn't possibly manage.
Not even close. It enables incredibly sophisticated mass surveillance and content filtering.
And the really visible one, I guess, is facial recognition.
That's probably the most visible, yes. And you see it deployed widely. China's Skynet and Sharp Eyes initiatives are maybe the most famous examples.
Along with their social credit system.
Exactly. They use huge networks of cameras, vehicle recognition, virtual IDs, all to track movement and behavior. The goal is to manage society, basically, rewarding or punishing citizens and companies.
And it links to financial data, health records?
Yes. Financial transactions, health records, even things like community activities. It's incredibly integrated. But it's not just China. Moscow has one of Europe's biggest camera systems using facial recognition to track people monitor protests. Even in democratic countries like the U.S., there are concerns. Law enforcement searching driver's license databases, which has led to documented cases of racial and gender bias, even wrongful arrests based on faulty matches.
That's deeply worrying. What other methods?
Well, there's predictive policing, using algorithms to analyze past crime data and predict future hotspots.
Sounds useful on the surface.
On the surface, maybe, but it often just reinforces existing biases. If past policing was concentrated in minority neighborhoods, the algorithm learns that bias and sends more police back there. We've seen this in places like Oakland, LA, Chicago.
So it creates a feedback loop.
A feedback loop of disproportionate policing, exactly. And in places like China's Xinjiang region, systems like the Integrated Joint Operations Platform use biometrics and credit scores, allegedly to predict criminal activity, effectively stigmatizing entire ethnic and religious groups.
And then there's the really sci-fi sounding stuff, like deepfakes.
Yeah, deepfake technology, advanced AI creating hyper-realistic but totally fake content. Videos of politicians saying things they never said, fake audio recording.
Which can be used to disrupt elections.
Absolutely, cast doubt on real information. There were alleged incidents in Gabon that triggered political unrest and a really critical election in Slovakia, where a deepfake audio recording surfaced, supposedly of a party leader discussing rigging the election. It causes chaos.
It's terrifyingly effective.
It really is.
Wow, that paints a genuinely stark picture of a pervasive system. Are there other countries that we should know about, either for using these AI repression systems heavily or maybe for exporting the technology?
Yeah, when you look at the bigger picture, it's not just one or two states. Many are adopting these tools, and some are actively exporting them.
Like who?
Well, Russia, for instance. They've really ramped up digital control since the 2022 Ukraine invasion, using DPI, pushing their sovereign internet law, the RUNET, to centralize control. And they have this Oculus project using AI to suppress content, especially about the war or LGBTQ plus issues. Plus, AI-powered bots and trolls for propaganda are rampant, and Moscow, as we said, is one of the most monitored cities anywhere, trapping individuals in real time.
And they're trying to export this model.
They're actively seeking AI collaborations, especially with BRICS countries, trying to shape global AI norms away from Western models, reduce reliance on Western tech.
Oh.
Iran is another key example. Their National Information Network, the NIN, tries to wall off users from the global internet, control content, and they're integrating AI surveillance in public spaces, often targeting women's rights movements.
And they operate beyond their borders, too.
They've been accused of transnational surveillance, cyber operations using AI for phishing, social engineering, monitoring dissidents abroad.
It's concerning that even democratic states get implicated in exporting this tech.
That's a really important point. The U.S., many EU member states, they've faced scrutiny for selling surveillance tech, including AI monitoring tools, to regimes with, let's say, questionable human rights records.
Like the Pegasus spyware.
Pegasus is a prime example. Even if its AI component isn't fully confirmed, it shows the global reach and the controversy. NSO Group is Israeli, but European companies, British, German, French, Italian firms have also been implicated in selling surveillance gear to countries with poor human rights records, especially after the Arab Spring.
So there's a whole supply chain issue.
A huge question of accountability in that supply chain, absolutely.
Okay, so let's try and bring this all together. What does this actually mean for you, for our listener, when you combine that potential for financial surveillance from CBDCs with the really pervasive monitoring capabilities of all this advanced AI?
Yeah.
This feels like it goes way beyond just privacy, doesn't it?
This is where it gets really interesting and potentially quite frightening.
Yeah.
Imagine integrating CBDCs with concepts like social credit systems, like digital identities. You could potentially create a global system of financial control unlike anything we've ever seen in history.
Wow.
As one expert put it pretty starkly, the modern-day equivalent of the company store is just around the corner.
Meaning your spending could be restricted based on other factors.
Potentially. This kind of interoperability, linking financial data with other data streams via AI, could give states or whoever controls the system unprecedented visibility into global financial transactions. It could fundamentally change the balance of economic power. Between nations, yes, but also between the state and you, the citizen.
It really does feel like the very idea of progress is being sort of twisted here, doesn't it?
Right.
To justify deeper and deeper levels of control. Is that a fair way to put it?
I think it is, absolutely. And this often leads to what some researchers call an illusion of progress in global governance. Meaning decision-making gets shifted away from public democratic processes
Right.
and towards these less accountable institutions, maybe technocratic elites who control the data, who control the algorithms. The mass collection of personal data, even if it's supposedly anonymized initially,
Which it often isn't fully.
which it often isn't exactly, it becomes not just that advertising goldmine we talked about, but a powerful tool for targeted manipulation. Nudging behavior, shaping opinions.
Treating a chilling effect on free speech.
Definitely a chilling effect on free expression. It can undermine the very foundations of a democratic society. Just think about the sheer volume of data being collected already. The average European apparently has their online activity and location exposed something like 376 times a day just by the ad industry's real-time bidding.
376 times.
Per day. And in the US, it's apparently even higher, 747 times daily.
That's staggering. It sounds incredibly daunting. With systems becoming this sophisticated, this pervasive, is there any real resistance? Or are we talking about systems that are just inescapable?
Well, here's a crucial piece of the puzzle. Despite all the sophistication, yes, there is ongoing resistance.
Okay.
Individuals are creative. They're using citizen-side privacy tools. Things like adversarial patches, specially designed patterns you can wear to confuse facial recognition.
Seriously, like patterns on clothing.
Yeah, or makeup. Even things described as invisibility cloaks designed to make you undetectable to certain types of thermal or AI surveillance. Plus, you have the more common tools, VPNs, anonymous browsers like Tor. Their usage is increasing as people try to evade monitoring.
So people are pushing back.
They are. And there's another interesting concept, algorithmic inefficiency.
What's that?
It basically means that AI systems, despite their power, often fall short of what they theoretically could do. It's not that the AI is dumb. It's more that human communication, human behavior, is incredibly complex, full of nuance, slang, context, things AI really struggles to grasp accurately at scale.
So they're not as effective at control as intended?
Often, yes. They can be less effective at fulfilling those repressive goals than you might think. So while AI definitely gives states unprecedented capabilities for control, the real world is messy. The interplay between people, technology, society means these systems aren't always the all-seeing eye they're made out to be. Any policy trying to tackle digital authoritarianism needs to understand not just the tech, but also how people creatively resist it.
Okay, so wrapping this up then, what does all of this mean for you listening to this, trying to navigate this incredibly fast-evolving digital world?
Yeah.
You've seen how these tools, often designed for convenience, for progress, digital money, smart AI, they hold this immense potential to reshape our world profoundly, and at times really unsettlingly. The move away from physical cash, the sheer omnipresence of AI surveillance, the potential for integrating all this into some kind of global governance model. It's undeniably a challenge to your privacy, your freedom of expression, your basic individual autonomy.
And the real question for all of us, I think, isn't just about what the technology can do.
Right.
It's about what we, as a society, collectively decide we will allow it to do. How much control are we actually willing to trade away for convenience? Or for a sense of security, whether real or perceived?
That is definitely the question to mull over as you step back into your own reality. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
Till next time, stay informed and please stay vigilant.
As nations roll out digital currencies and AI learns our every move, the world edges closer to a reality where freedom is an illusion and control is absolute. Revelation chapter 13 isn't just a warning, it's a roadmap. Those who understand the times won't be caught unprepared. This was the Last Transmission podcast. Stay watchful, stay unmarked, and remember, what seems like progress may be the final track. Transmission ended.